Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens. I'm the author of the Tennyson Academy series, and this is English Nerd. Yes, the Tennyson Academy series, including Tennyson Academy stories, is available on all platforms, so if you enjoy young adult fantasy, you should definitely check it out. So today I am taking a look at one of my all-time favorite poems, Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. This poem is based on a couple of things. It's based on the Odyssey by Homer, but more directly it's based on an episode in Dante's Inferno where Dante meets Odysseus. So Ulysses is just an alternate name for Odysseus. He meets Odysseus, he meets Ulysses in the Inferno in Circle 8, and Ulysses tells a story about what happened after he returned to Ithaca, and he decided to leave again, and he had this ill-fated voyage that left him in the Circle of the Inferno where he resides, according to Dante's account. Tennyson takes this kind of gloomy story and he gives it a twist that I really like. There are videos out there of people reading this. There's one that I particularly like. It's Helen Mirren reading the end of Ulysses for Stephen Colbert, and he's crying by the end. There's also a line that shows up in Dead Poets Society, the great movie with Robin Williams. So this is one that I've really enjoyed a long time. As always, as I'm going through this, I am going to mark it up with my observations and things like that. This is not a completely comprehensive analysis. This is going to be, an analysis, but there are still things left to discover. And so if you're writing a paper or doing a presentation or something like that, you need to come up with your own ideas. I am not here to help you plagiarize or write your paper for you. What I am here to do is teach you a little something about one of my very favorite poems and perhaps introduce it to you for the first time. So with that, this is Ulysses by Alfred Lord Tennyson. As I mentioned, Ulysses is just another name for Odysseus, who's the protagonist of Homer's Odyssey. It's a story of a man who is returning home from the war in Troy, but he gets blown off course. He experiences all these monsters and he's held prisoner. And anyway, it takes him 20 years to get back to Ithaca, where his faithful wife Penelope and his son, who was an infant when he left, who is now a man, Telemachus, is also living. So that's a little bit of background that might be helpful as we launch into this poem. So let's just go bit by bit. It little profits that an idle king by the still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I meet and dole unequal laws unto a savage race, that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. So we have this fairly elevated language just to start things off. You can tell that it is not exactly imitating epic style, but it is taking this story very seriously. A couple things to notice here is that it little profits that an idle king, the first way that he describes himself, it's in first person mostly, but the first way he describes himself is idle, and that goes against everything that Ulysses loves. He loves adventure, he loves action, he's a soldier, he's a tactician, he's all these things. And so he describes himself as idle right off the bat, which is, it has a negative connotation, of course. He's matched with an aged wife, so her first description is not that she is Penelope, the loyal, brilliant woman that we do see in the Odyssey. Instead, he's focused on just what he does not have. He does not have action. He's by this still hearth where nothing is happening, among these barren crags where nothing is going on, matched with an aged wife who can no longer bear children, that sort of thing. I meet and dole unequal laws unto a savage race, that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. So sleep and feed, that's meant to be a echo of Hamlet, because of course it is. If you've been around the channel, you know that Hamlet is just my favorite thing. This comes from a soliloquy that Hamlet gives in Act 4, Scene 4, where he says, essentially, what is the point of being human if all that it means is to sleep and feed? We might as well be beasts. So it's a very negative first stanza that we get that sets the scene for his decisions later on. It continues. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone. On shore, and when through scudding drifts the rainy Hyades vexed the dim sea, I am become a name. Whew. Okay, so we're getting into some really beautiful wording here. He's enjoyed greatly, suffered greatly. I am become a name. So it's through his action that he's become someone, that he's found his identity. It's through this greatness, this enjoying and this suffering greatly, that he's able to say exactly who he is as a person. And so you get the sense that he is somebody who likes to be the man in the arena. If you guys know that speech, it's by Teddy Roosevelt, I believe, and he talks about the man in the arena and how those who just watch the man of action and criticize that person are less than the person who's in the fray, even if and even though they will fail sometimes. So I am become a name, for always roaming with a hungry heart, much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners, climates, councils, government, myself not least, but honored of them all, and drunk delight of battle with my peers, far on the ringing plains of windy Troy. I am a part of all that I have met. So he gives a sort of background of his story. So in case you are not entirely familiar, he mentions windy Troy. Later on, he's going to mention a few names of people who are also famous, who are in Troy. Now, he says, I am become a name. He knows exactly who he is, and he knows that he's earned this place among the highest governments, the highest councils of people through battle, through doing these active things. He is a part of all that he has met. Yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untraveled world, whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. This is key to understanding his character. We get the sense at the very beginning that he's feeling idle, that he's feeling stifled and unmoving. But here he talks about all the things that he's done, and yet all experience is just, it allows for greater vistas of more that he can do. It's like when you climb a mountain and you think that you've done so much, but that only affords you this view of what you haven't done. The more you know that you don't know. It's one of those things. And so he's restless. No matter what he does or where he goes, he's always going to have this nagging sense of what is left undone, even though here he is as an older man. How dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use. So, in case you didn't pick up on how he was feeling about that. Okay, page 2. As though to breathe were life. This idea is key as well. This harkens back to that Hamlet reference where just breathing, sleeping, feeding, those things are not life. There has to be more to it than that. So life piled on life were all too little, and of one, to me, little remains. But every hour is saved from that eternal silence, something more, a bringer of new things. And vile it were, for some 3 suns to store and hoard myself, and this gray spirit yearning in desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star beyond the utmost bound of human thought. This is interesting. He doesn't just want adventure, but he wants knowledge as well. He's following knowledge. What can I know? What can I get out of these last few years of life? He knows that his life is coming to an end. He knows that he's not in his prime anymore. He spent many years in Troy, many years trying to get back from Troy, and he'd already lived a life before that as well. But he can't bring himself to just rust unburnished, as he puts it. So he's yearning in desire. Now this brings up something that is contemporary for Tennyson, who was writing in the early to mid 1800s here, during the Victorian era of England, where there was this question of what really mattered. The emotion of the previous era, the Romantics, had turned sour pretty quickly. You think about the French Revolution and how emotion and impulse and all of that really fueled the French Revolution, but then it turned into the Reign of Terror and it became something horrific. Before that, it was all about reason and logic, but even then people felt like something was missing in humanity. So reason didn't do it, emotion didn't do it. Before that, there was religion, but when Christianity split into Protestants and Catholics, you had the wars, and there was a sense that also was slipping from the grasp of at least the avant-garde, who were writing these poems. So my point is that in the Victorian era, people had a lot. It was almost as though they had arrived home to security and that kind of thing. Monetarily, people were doing much better than they had in any recent memory, that's for sure. But there was this kind of spiritual sickness almost. There was a chronic loneliness and sense of being just untethered and floating freely through the blackness. And so there was this yearning and desire for something, to reach forward to something, but what was there? Which is why I think this story resonated with Tennyson. People don't just want to be alive, they want to be alive. And there's quite a big difference. So next stanza. This is my son, mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle. Well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor, by slow prudence to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. Most blameless is he, centered in the sphere of common duties, decent not to fail in offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to the household gods while I am gone. He works his work, I mine. So in this section, we see that Ulysses is planning to leave the island of Ithaca, that he's the king of, to his son, and clearly Odysseus is going to do something else with his remaining time on Earth. He thinks Telemachus is more cut out for all this kind of work anyway. Now, it's easy to blame Odysseus for a whole lot of things, and I'm not going to stand here saying, well, we should take him as this model of impressive goodness, because I don't think that's Tennyson's point either. But he is, thinking of his people and hoping that the people that he was king over will end up being useful and good. There we go. There lies the port, the vessel puffs her sail, there gloom the dark broad seas. My mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me, that ever with a frolic welcome took the thunder and the sunshine, and opposed free hearts, free foreheads. You and I are old. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. Death closes all, but something ere the end, some work of noble note may yet be done, not unbecoming men that strove with gods. Now we're getting into the part that is the reason that I love this poem so much. Really, it's this final stanza that just gets me every time. It's so beautiful. So he gathers his mariners and he plans to once again sail away on some sort of adventure. Now, you and I are old. Suddenly we are a part of this poem. It's not just Odysseus, but we also. So this poem is really beautiful and fitting for actual elderly people, but it also was beautiful and fitting for all of the people in the Victorian age who had this weariness and this uncertainty that I described. Like, what is there left to strive for? Is there anything worth going after, really, besides some creature comforts and that kind of thing? And so in many ways, whether literally or figuratively, the reader is somebody who's old. So old age hath yet his honor and his toil. Death closes all, but something ere the end may yet be done, not unbecoming men that strove with gods. He's referring here literally to what happened in Troy specifically, but Odysseus also had some other run-ins with gods in the Odyssey as well as he was headed back. The lights begin to twinkle from the rocks. The long day wanes, the slow moon climbs, the deep moans round with many voices. Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world. This right here. So we are not only old, but we're a mariner, apparently, because he says, come, it's not too late to find something new, to do something worthwhile, that rivals those glory days that have gone by. So we are now a part of his journey as he goes. Push off, because now we have these commands. Come, push off. And sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows, for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of all the western stars until I die. It may be that gulfs will wash us down. It may be we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles, whom we knew. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. That ending is just the most glorious thing. This ending is what I mentioned at the beginning of this video, being quoted in those different scenarios. So, a few things to notice here. There's some ethos going on, which is a characteristic of really any great speech. Ethos is an appeal to character. So particularly the character of the speaker, usually. So why should we believe you if you're talking about something? But ethos can also be an appeal to the character of the audience. And so we have, for example, it may be that we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles, whom we knew. So we all knew these same great people. We all have been through these difficult things and made it out alive. Yes, we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, but that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts. So equal temper, that kind of puts you on the same step as Ulysses and calls both you and I and Ulysses heroic. And so it brings you in and means to inspire, and then he really nails the ending, I think. Oops. So yes, we're made weak by time and fate. So there is the understanding that he's not glossing over the difficulties of the past or the difficulties of being old and unsure about where to go next, or even that their journey here will be successful. He says maybe we'll be washed down, which according to Dante's account of Ulysses' story is what happens. So yes, we're made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. We have this beautiful parallelism here with the infinitives, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. And there's there's hopefulness. There's almost a biblical echo here with to seek, to find, seek and you will find, you know, and then not to yield is the final note there. There's not a lot of rhyming in this whole thing. It really does come across as a speech from Ulysses to us, the reader, to us, the Victorians, to us, people in 2022 that need to be reminded that this is an age that we're in. It's an era just like any other era. Of course, it has its unique challenges, and they are not small, but there still is work of noble note to be done. I hope you enjoyed that. I think the ending is enormously powerful and has just a beautiful message for us in 2022, which is the reason I wanted to kick off the poetry series that I've been doing for this year with this one. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Make sure to like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe for more English nerdy goodness. Get those notifications, because not only will there be more great academic content, but there will be great writing content as well, and big announcements coming very soon as far as new works of mine as well. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you on Monday.